I have a friend named Ishan, and he called me about a week ago and gave me an update on his e-commerce brand. He told me that this month they did $8 million and next month they were going to do about $10 million. And I'm not gonna lie, when I heard that, I got a little bit annoyed and I started to feel really left behind. But here's the crazy part. I've literally generated millions and millions of dollars, and I did all of that in my early 20s. I live in a beautiful home and I'm building another beautiful home that I'm going to sell for a couple $1 million and make over $1 million profit on. And objectively, it doesn't make sense. How could I, a 25-year-old who has had so much success in his life early on, feel left behind ever at all? And if I'm feeling this way, I could only imagine how far behind everybody else is feeling, everyone else that's behind me in terms of financial success. So naturally, I went to Twitter and I posted a tweet basically telling everyone to get used to the feeling of falling behind or feeling behind because it doesn't really go away. And funny enough, a lot of people in the comments immediately agreed with me, even people that were millionaires or multimillionaires. But ultimately, this got me thinking, and I realized that this isn't even about the money. It's about something else that people aren't really talking about online. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I think that is. But to give you a little bit more backstory, I started my internet money / entrepreneur journey fresh out of high school when I was around 18 years old. And I remember very vividly the first day that I made over $400 in revenue with dropshipping when I was just a teenager. And I remember how life-changing and how perspective shifting it was for me. I was leveraging all of the things I learned from e-commerce and I put it into a marketing agency, and that went well too. We generated over $20 million for our clients in just a couple of years. Then I started getting into like investing and crypto trading. And then eventually I started getting into my real estate project where I flipped a house and then I ended up buying land to develop this house to eventually sell it. After that, I got into affiliate marketing, and through affiliate marketing, I made millions and millions of dollars and at a very rapid rate. And overall, my best month was around $1.1 million profit. Now, I'm obviously leaving out tons of details and tons of stories about all of these different business ventures over the last 7 years. But if you guys want, I can make separate videos for all of them and tell you guys the full story. However, what I realized was for a good portion of the last 7 to 8 years, throughout all of these business ventures, although all of them were objectively successful, I most of the time felt behind. The only exceptions were when I was super locked in or I was super focused on one thing at that specific time and I was working on it every day and seeing the progress month over month. And I sat and thought about this for a long time and I came to a revelation. So I'm going to share that revelation with you guys and hopefully it can help you guys. This is my revelation broken up into 3 parts, starting with the first one, the effort truth. The reason I was feeling behind when I talked to Ishan last week is because I know that for the last year, I haven't been putting in as much effort as I am capable of putting into all of the things that I'm doing. Now, I could come up with excuses. I could say that's because I'm focusing on a lot of different things at once. It's because I'm planning to get married and I'm really stressed out. I could make up any excuse, but the truth is the same. And it's that I know I could be putting in more effort on the things that are really important and seeing more progress with those things. And now again, it's not really about the money because me and Ishan are both multimillionaires. We have everything that we need. We're not stressed out about money. But for me, it's about how hard I've been working and how much effort I've been putting into the things that I've been doing. I felt behind because I knew that if I was more consistent and if I had put in more effort into the really important things, I would have made more progress. And I probably wouldn't have felt behind because I would have just been proud of how hard I've been working. And I know this to be true, at least in my experience, because as I sit and as I think about it, it feels right and it sounds right. And as I think back to all of the times that I was super locked in, I didn't look back and regret those times, no matter what the outcomes were. So the main takeaway of this first part is you need to be putting in at least 80% of your effort into the really important tasks in your life. Don't just do something to cross it off your to-do list and move on to the next thing. And don't look for the most efficient way to complete a task. Now, I'm not saying you should waste time and you should procrastinate. I'm just saying don't rush things that are very important. But here's where it gets interesting. While I realized I wasn't putting in 80% or more effort into the important things, I also realized something else. Anytime Ishan or anyone else shared a successful achievement of theirs, I couldn't help but compare myself to them in that moment. And this leads us into number 2, which is the comparison trap. And this is more of a common talking point, but comparing yourself to other people can truly be the thief of joy. But to be honest, I've always had an issue with that quote, and that's why I use the word can. And the reason why is because how are you not supposed to compare yourself to other people? In those moments, it feels completely out of your control. But something that is in your control is how you react to hearing that person's success or that achievement. And if you're able to allow yourself to think about that person's achievements from a different perspective, not only will you not feel bad about yourself and you will not feel left behind, but instead you can actually feel inspired massively. So I'm going to give you an example of this. A few years ago, I went to lunch at one of my favorite spots in Scottsdale, Arizona called Protein House with my friend Ishan, who I was on the phone with last week. Me and Ishan sat down, and we don't meet very often. So when we do, we catch each other up on all of the things in life, our relationships, our business, how much money we're making, all of these things. And at that time, I was making more money than I had ever made in my entire life. And Ishan, he was not as cash rich. He was building equity in his business. So he was wealthy on paper, but in terms of money in the bank, I was absolutely going crazy on him. So for example, on that lunch meeting, we were sitting outside and Ishan told me like, how are things going? How much are you making? How is this new offer doing? Whatever. And I told him, honestly, we were doing about $70,000 a day in profit. And Ishan gave me quite a vocal response. He basically screamed at my face and said, "You're making what? You're making 70,000 a day?" And I started laughing because I can't help it. Like, that's crazy to say out loud. And I said, yes, I did. And Ishan pretty much immediately was like, dude, no way. Like, that's insane. I could tell that Ishan was massively inspired. And throughout the years, every time that me and Ishan meet up or anytime we talk on the phone, that conversation comes up because he told me black and white. Ishan is a very honest person. He's like, you pissed me off in that moment and you inspired me so much. And I was so competitive in that moment when you told me that I just had to come back and beat you. He told me that he was going to come for me years ago.
You are just a set of failures away from success. Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks every time they fail, they're going further and further from success. They're like, oh, I suck. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Look at that girl. Like, they're crushing it. It's like, no, you are getting closer and closer and closer every single time.
In fact, on the phone call last week, he asked me again for my biggest month, my biggest profit month, because he was like, I'm planning to beat you in a couple of months. And he probably will. But it just shows you that in that moment, he was extremely inspired and he knew that if I could do it, he could also do it as well. And it probably pushed him harder to get to that goal post sooner. Now, here's another example, and this one is more recent as well. I follow someone online and his name is Umar, and he's a big trader. He posted a trade recently where he bought Tesla stock before the election. He bought 25,000 shares of Tesla and he held it throughout Donald Trump winning. He ended up making like, I think it was like 3 to 4, maybe even $5 million at one point of unrealized gains on that single trade. And that was all just in a couple of days, in like a week time span. And to see that on the internet, at first, like, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit annoying because that man just made $3 to $4 to $5 million if he clicks the sell button like that in 1 week. And it was relatively easy for him to do that. Whereas me, like, I've had to work so hard to make $5 million, like, it takes me years. But then I sat and I realized something in that moment, and this is super important. Umar didn't take anything away from me at all. All he did was just show me and everybody else objectively what is possible. That's it. If he can make $3 to $4 million profit in a couple of days, that means that I can also do that. It's completely possible, and I believe it because I saw it happen right in front of my own eyes. And if you believe it, it becomes true. And so what that does is it pushes the boundaries of the limiting beliefs that you may have. After all, Umar is just a human. He's just like me. You know, maybe he's a little bit smarter. He's probably more consistent. Maybe he works a little bit harder. But those last two things, I could do better. And I could probably outwork Umar too if I really wanted to. I could at least match him. I know that for a fact. And in that moment, which was like 5 minutes after I saw what he did, it shifted from jealousy, to be honest, to pure inspiration. In that moment, I knew and I felt that it was possible to achieve so much more. And all Umar did was just prove it to me. By posting that success on his story for everyone to see, he was just publicly calling out at me to come join him at that level and to make that level of money with him. And I know Umar might not be the perfect example because he is in an entirely different business model. But with Ishan's case, he's making $5 to $10 million a month with ecom. That's crazy. So the main takeaway here is a pretty basic one, but it is to choose to be inspired instead of jealous. And once you start seeing other people's success and achievements as inspirational only, it will lead you to an even bigger realization. The real question is not about how fast can you catch up to those people. It's about how you can approach your work differently to get more progress out of it. And this leads me to number 3, which is the craftsmanship mindset. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. It's better to do something slowly with high quality and high intent than it is to rush through it, do it with low quality, only to have to come back to it in the future and redo it all together. And if you rush through it and you come back and do it all over again, you're going to end up spending more time and more effort than you would have originally if you just went slow and steady the first time around. On top of it taking more time and more effort, it will also cause you more frustration. So in every way, it's just a net negative. This also becomes more and more important and crucial as the importance of the task or the objective becomes as well. So if you're doing something that's extremely important, you need to be even more meticulous and even more methodical with how you execute the task. And if you think about it, have you ever regretted doing something important too well? Probably not. But I would bet that you have regretted rushing through something that was really important. Main takeaway here is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So here's the ultimate truth, in my opinion. That feeling of feeling left behind is probably never going to entirely go away. But I realize now that it's not really supposed to go away. The feeling is not your enemy. It's just a signal. When you feel left behind, it's usually not because of what someone else is doing. It's just your internal compass telling you that you're not giving your absolute best to what really matters with your work. When Ishan called me that day and told me that he was about to beat me, he didn't make me feel left behind at the end of it. He just reminded me of something that I already knew, that I wasn't putting craftsmanship level effort into the most important tasks of my work. So the next time you feel like you're falling behind, or the next time you feel like you're a failure compared to all of these people that you see, whether in your personal life or on the internet, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Am I actually giving 80% effort into my work, or am I just pretending that I am? Is somebody else's achievements and success an excuse to make myself feel small, or is it proof that I can achieve incredible things? Am I rushing through my life and rushing through all of the things I need to do? Or am I building something that I'm going to be very, very proud of one day? Feeling behind is not about catching up to other people that are living a completely different life than you. It's catching up to the version of yourself that you know you can be. So that's going to be it for this video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching it. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope it was valuable. And I want to give you guys a very, very, very warm thank you for 1 million subscribers. That's absolutely insane. And I apologize to all of you guys for being inconsistent on YouTube for pretty much the entire YouTube career. I want to post videos that I really enjoy making and only videos that I really want to make. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you guys have any suggestions for any other ones, please leave a comment down below. See you guys in the next one.